In the 1930s, India was still under the shadow of colonial rule. The streets of New Delhi bustled with bullock carts and rickshaws, while markets overflowed with spices, saris, and shining brassware. It was a land deeply rooted in religion, where the ideas of karma and rebirth were part of everyday life. Yet, in this very city, the story of one little girl would go on to shake society, and eventually, the world. Her name was Shanti Devi, born in 1926. She came from no special family, just an ordinary household in Delhi. But from the moment she could speak, she spoke of another home. She claimed she was not her parents' daughter, but had lived in a town called Mathura. She insisted she had a husband, a child, and even described the streets and the house of her former life. At first, her parents dismissed it as childhood imagination. But as she grew older, her words became more specific, more confident. She even recalled the very name of her past life self. This unsettled her family and began to stir curiosity among the neighbors, and thus began a story that would astonish the world. As Shanti grew older, her words became impossible for her parents to dismiss. At mealtimes, she often refused certain foods, saying they were not the dishes from her true home. She even insisted that her name was not Shanti, but Lugdi Devi. By the age of 7, she revealed even more astonishing details. She claimed that her former husband was Kedar Nath Chaubey, a merchant living in the city of Mathura. She described the courtyard in front of his house, the color of the walls, even the arrangement of the bedroom. Most strikingly, she said she had died of illness shortly after giving birth to a child. Her parents were torn. On one hand, they feared their daughter would be seen as strange, even cursed. On the other hand, they could not deny the precision of her words, as if she had truly lived another life. News of her story spread quickly through the neighborhood. How could a child know the streets of a distant city? How could she speak so clearly of another family's names and daily life? Some believed it was a mysterious memory from a past life. Others thought she might have overheard someone's stories. But one thing was clear. This child's words could no longer be ignored. Shanti Devi's story gained worldwide attention not only because of her vivid memories, but also because people decided to test whether these memories were real. In 1935, the news reached Mahatma Gandhi, the great leader and educator of India. He heard that a little girl in Delhi claimed to have lived in Mathura in her past life, and that she described many specific details. Gandhi was intrigued. He appointed a committee of scholars, judges, and journalists to personally examine the child's memories in Delhi. The committee first listened to Shanti's statements. Once again, she described her past life in detail. Her name was Lugdi Devi. She was married to a merchant named Kedar Nath, and she had lived in a particular house in Mathura. The committee did not rush to any conclusions. Instead, they decided to conduct a field investigation. They arranged for Shanti Devi's very first visit to Mathura. In November 1935, Shanti Devi boarded a train to visit what she called her hometown from her past life. This journey would become the key turning point of the entire case. When the train arrived in Mathura, investigators and local journalists were present. They wanted to see whether this little girl who had never left Delhi could truly recognize what she called her former home. After getting off the train, Shanti showed no hesitation. She walked confidently through the streets, turning corners, until she finally stopped in front of a house. She said, "This is the home where I used to live." The investigators went inside, and indeed, this was the very house where Lugdi Devi had lived. The owner was none other than Kedar Nath, the same name Shanti had mentioned earlier. When confronted with the stranger Kedar Nath, Shanti behaved with striking familiarity. She called him "my husband," and pointed out intimate details of the house, such as the exact placement of the bed, the room where she had slept while ill, and even a sealed box inside the house. These were details that only someone who had lived there could possibly know. Kedar Nath was deeply shaken. He admitted that Shanti's statements were entirely correct. Even more astonishing was when Shanti met her child from her past life. She immediately embraced the boy, overwhelmed with emotion, and broke down in tears. This moment was witnessed firsthand by all members of the investigation team. This investigation became the most powerful evidence in the Shanti Devi case. It was no longer just isolated personal memory. It was validated by journalists, scholars, and judges together. That is why this case spread across the world, becoming one of the very first past life memory stories to be taken seriously by the international community. Shanti Devi's story did not remain confined to the streets of India. With the spread of newspaper reports, her name quickly became known across the country. In 1930s India, a young girl claiming to remember her past life, down to every verified detail, was nothing short of sensational. Soon, scholars, journalists, and even political leaders were drawn to Delhi. They wanted to see this extraordinary girl for themselves, to listen to her testimony, and to test its authenticity. Among the most remarkable events was when Mahatma Gandhi himself appointed an official investigation committee. This committee, composed of respected figures, lawyers, scholars, and community leaders, accompanied Shanti Devi to Mathura, retracing the footsteps of her alleged past life. The committee's report became one of the earliest and most detailed modern documents on reincarnation research. Through international news agencies, Shanti Devi's story crossed the borders of India. Newspapers in Britain, the United States, and Germany all reported on the case. For the Western world, this was not merely a curiosity but a challenge. How should science respond to the possibility of reincarnation? Does the soul truly exist? Skeptics tried to dismiss the case as collective deception or parental coaching, yet none of these explanations could erase the independently verified details. It seemed impossible for a child to know the intimate secrets of another family. Thus, Shanti Devi not only became a household name in India, but also stood as a classic case in the study of reincarnation. Decades later, when Dr.Ian Stevenson began his global investigations, he too regarded this case as one of his cornerstone references. The story of Shanti Devi is not just a folktale from India. Her memories, her recognition of houses, objects, and people were all carefully documented and witnessed. That is why this case has become one of the most representative reincarnation stories in modern history. It forced people to think, could life truly be more than a single existence? Could death simply be another beginning? Shanti's entire life was shaped by this extraordinary memory. She was called the reincarnated girl, visited by countless outsiders and researchers. Yet, in her own heart, she felt she was just an ordinary person, one who carried an extraordinary past. The case shocked the world. Some doubted, some believed. But regardless of belief, it compelled humanity to reconsider an ancient question. Does reincarnation truly exist? And that is why later scientists, including Dr. Ian Stevenson, regarded the Shanti Devi case as a crucial foundation. It was not only a story, it was the first step toward scientific inquiry into rebirth.